Hi, I'm Dana, and I've noticed recently that in the autism community, especially on Twitter, there's been a lot of discussion lately about how people maintain their household, I guess is the phrase. You know, how you make sure you've got food in your fridge and that your house is reasonably clean and tidy, and just generally maintaining living alone or with a partner, or like generally having your own household, you know? I assume it's that lots of people my age have recently moved out, and they tend to be the people that I follow that are autistic. But I moved out at 17 and it was a complete shit show. It was a total disaster for me for many, many years, which means that I had to really scramble to get my shit together. And it's still not perfect. I'm still not feeling like I'm like a proper adult maintaining my household, but I've definitely gotten a lot better at it. And I thought I'd give a few tips that have helped me to improve. I'm no expert. I'm not, like I say, I'm literally not perfect at it. I'm not even that great at it. I definitely have days that everything's just too much and I've left it all to go to absolute shit. But for the most part, I have a pretty sound handle on it. I feel like I'm doing well. You know, I'm definitely doing better than I was, because frankly, when I first moved out, between being 17 and suddenly having my own flat with my partner and having to like keep all of that going, plus like really poor mental health and then dropping out of college and just an absolute shit show of my life, basically, it was really hard. And it was that type of thing where it's just my room is covered in dirty clothes. I haven't done the dishes in like ages, so now there's no clean dishes, there's no clean cutlery, there's no clean cups, there's no food in the fridge, the floor's covered in shit because I haven't hoovered. Like, it was a disaster. It was a complete shit show, but I'm managing a lot better. So let's get into it. Here's my tips. My first huge one, the thing that I absolutely think is essential for me to have any form of semblance of my shit together, is to-do lists. And I failed with to-do lists for years, because I'd buy a pretty notebook and I'd draw little like perfect boxes and I'd have it colour coded or little symbols to mean different things, and that shit just does not work for my brain. It's putting way too much effort into the aesthetics of it and not actually getting the stuff done that I need to get done. It looks lovely when you post it on Instagram or Pinterest for sure, but it doesn't work for me. This is the shit that works. I should have shown you a week that I got more stuff done. Let's go with this week. Now, for the longest time, I just had a really ugly like £2 notebook from Tesco that I did all of this in, and then my girlfriend bought me this little pad thing, and my brain kind of hated it at first. I was probably like, why are you making me change? But I actually really like it now. It's got like the week on it, and I really, really like using this now. And as you can see, I write down my bits and I mark them off, and it's a good little time. It's the only way that I've ever remembered the stuff that I need to get done. I can write things on in advance, I can write things down as I'm doing them if I need to. I don't have any sort of rules or structure or aesthetic around it. It is purely functional. And this is the only thing that has ever worked for me. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, I think. It's the best thing I've ever done for myself. It's literally changed my life, essentially. I actually get my stuff done. I get my little dopamine boost from ticking it off. I would heavily, heavily recommend doing this. Just no aesthetics, pure functionality. Like, I especially like that I have this bit. It's meant to be this week's best goals ever. It's meant to be like a really nice positivity thing. I do appreciate that my girlfriend bought it for me. It's got like greatest Monday of all time or what this week's superpower is. But I don't use any of that shit. I use the this week's best goals ever just as a little like notes part where I'll put like appointments and other things that I don't want to like. I mean, I do also put it on the day that it's happening, but that's why I just note things for the future. And it's like it fixed a part of my brain. I actually remember the stuff that I need to do, because before it wasn't that like, you know, some days it was literally I can't be arsed doing a wash, I cannot be bothered to do the dishes, but for the most part it was I haven't been in the kitchen because I've forgotten to eat today, which means I haven't seen the dishes, so my brain hasn't had the little pings to go, oh, you should do the dishes, so I haven't done them. Like, you know, it wasn't that I couldn't be bothered, it just didn't happen. So by doing this, it does. All of the little things that are around the house that I think of through the day that I'm like, oh, I need to do that. I write it down and then it gets done. And it sounds so simple and obvious. But when I've done it in the past, like, I'm autistic and I like guidance and knowing that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing right, you know? So I was going to Pinterest and YouTube videos and Instagram and seeing what other people were doing. And a lot of them involve symbols, you know, like do a square for a task and do a triangle for an appointment and do a circle for this. And I tried that. Did not fucking work for me. I felt like such a failure if I didn't get something done. I had to like colour it in a different colour or whatever. I got confused between what the symbols meant. The only way this has ever worked for me is just write the thing down, scratch it out. Don't piss around drawing boxes and doing ticks and being unsure of what you've ticked off where. Just scribble it out, and it's brilliant. I love doing that. This has helped me so much. My second tip is do it now. Whatever it is when you're going around, like when I get up in a minute, I've got my filming set up, so there's a tripod on top of my wash basket, which means that when I got dressed, I'd already set this up, so my clothes are in a dirty pile. And normally, I'd put everything back and then be like, oh, well, I want a cuppa now, so I'll just go make myself a cuppa, and then I'll put the clothes in the basket. Is what I used to do. And then I'd forget and the clothes would still be there, and then I'd come up to go to bed, so I'd throw them with them and be like, oh, I'll sort it in the morning, and then in the morning I'd go downstairs, and you see the pattern. Whereas instead, do it now. When I'm putting my filming setup away and getting myself sorted again, I'll just pick them up and put them in the washing basket before I go to make me cuppa. It's, you know, I know that it sounds kind of condescending, a bit patronising, they're like, oh, just do it now. And you know, if someone else was telling me to, I wouldn't fucking do it, you know? Like when I was living at home as a teenager, my mum would have to ask me like repeatedly to like go have a shower, take the bins out, do the dishes, because it just bugs me when someone's asking me to do it. And especially if you ask more than once, because I'll fucking get round to it from the first time. But so I know how this comes across is what I'm saying. But telling myself it, just being like, oh, there's only a handful of dishes, I'll just do them now before I go out, rather than leaving it to be loads of dishes to do later, you know, things like that. Or, you know, I've got cats, every now and again I'll notice like, oh, the floor's a bit mucky, it could do with a hoover. Oh, I'll do that later. No, I'm just going to quickly hoover the mess up now. Just do it now. Don't have to worry about it later. Don't have to remember to do it at another point. Don't have to suddenly realise you didn't do it. You've sorted it. Now, this does only apply to small things, bear in mind. I'm not saying like my bathroom's mouldy as shit. I should probably spend a whole day buying like anti-mould stuff and doing a big scrub. So when I suddenly like go to the bathroom and have the realisation of, oh crap, this is really mouldy, I'm not gonna do that now, you know? But when it's something small, when it's like a 5-minute job that I can just do quickly now before doing something else, I do it. And it takes a lot of forcing yourself sometimes. I have to really be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna fucking do it now. I don't fucking want to, but I'm gonna fucking sort it. You know, like I have to like take my rage out on the task near enough. It's not rage, it's not that big. You know, when you're just generally when you're just generally a bit petty and bitter and having a bad day and it feels like everything's an inconvenience, just take it out on what you're doing. Just like shove the clothes into the basket that bit harder. Things like that. And of course, tying into that, take a day when you can. I know that this won't happen for everyone very often. It doesn't happen for me very often. But when I can, when I've got a day where I'm just like, I'm free to do whatever, I don't need to make a video, I don't need to go somewhere, nothing needs to be done, that's when I take a day to do all the stuff that doesn't need to be done. Like, because I have the do it now mentality, nothing gets horrendous. So that it's never like the bathroom needs to be cleaned, because I've noticed the sink's a bit dirty and given it a rinse. I've noticed the bath's a bit dirty and given it a rinse. I've noticed the toilet's a bit dirty and done some bleach. You know, all of the little bits have already been done. So when I've got a day, that's when I take a day to do the deep clean, to do the big things. Like yesterday, I had a whole morning where I was like, ooh, I can do whatever I fancy here. So I was gonna go to the park and have a little iced coffee and have my little like bitch moment, but it fucking rained all day. So instead, I had a little morning of doing all the little jobs for the cats. Because there's lots of little bits that come with cats that you just like do through the week, you know, cleaning their ears, giving them molt paste, like flea treatments, worm treatments, you know, things that just like pop up. Just shoved it all together on one morning so I don't have to think about it through the rest of the week. I've still got to scoop and do like the daily tasks for them, but it's just a few things off my plate throughout the rest of the week, and it's just that bit easier. And you know, I do the same with my bathroom, I do the same, I haven't had to do it for my bedroom yet actually. I haven't let it get messy because I am doing little bits now, and I've only just realised that, and it's kind of a shock to me because I'm someone who has like perpetually had a really messy bedroom. But like, you know, it's not the cleanest, tidiest room ever, but I don't really need to do anything big. I definitely couldn't take a whole day cleaning in here really. That's nice. See, my tips work, they work for me. But like I say, like with my bathroom, every now and again, it's kind of grotty. It gets a bit grotty with 2 people living here and only one of us cleaning it. So I just take a day and I'll just like deep clean everything in there and it'll be sparkling and perfect and nice. But, you know, I don't get to the point where I need to take a day where it's like, oh God, whatever I need to get done, I need to get done really quickly so that I can clean the bathroom because it's gross. It doesn't get to that because I'm doing the little bits when I can. So it just makes it easier to take a little day to do bits around the house. And it's, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I've over-explained it now. So my next tip is to prevent what you can. So what I mean by that, I used to be one of those people, and I know that you probably are too, I know lots of yous are, because there used to be memes about it and everything. When you have the chair or that bit of your bed or whatever else in your bedroom that's just perpetually filled up with clean washing that you haven't got around to putting away. I had that all the time and it really annoyed me. I hated it. I used to have that all the time and it really annoyed me. I hated it because it's like, well, I could put all my clothes away, but I really can't be bothered right now. So they're just going to go here and go here and go here and go here until it's a gigantic pile that takes forever to put away. It's so annoying. So rather than having a gigantic pile in my room, I started keeping a washing basket at the bottom of my stairs. So once the clothes were washed, they went into the basket. And then eventually, when I had like the day where I was taking a day to do all the stuff around the house, I'd put them all away. And because the basket was at the bottom of the stairs, in the meantime, if I needed something that I'd just washed or like recently washed or washed 2 months ago that was still in the basket, I could just dig through and grab it on my way upstairs to get dressed. You know, is it perfect? No. Does it solve an issue? Yeah. And I have since upgraded from that. I've now started to incorporate putting my clothes away into the do it now thing. So when they're dry in the dryer, rather than putting them somewhere, I bring them straight up and just start putting them away. And it takes a lot of mental energy sometimes. Like sometimes struggling through the executive dysfunction and shit is hard. That's entirely valid. You know, sometimes I'll leave them in the dryer for way longer than I need to because I just really can't be bothered putting them away, so I just don't want to take them out. But that's been working for me. It's very much figuring out what annoys you, what are the jobs you don't want to do, what are the things that put you off and make like use up extra spoons and you just can't be arsed. Prevent them from happening as much as you can. It's probably a bit unorthodox. I doubt this is what like Marie Kondo or like someone that's an expert in this stuff would tell you to do. But I think it works best for my little neurodivergent brain and it might well work for yours as well. And finally, just do what you can to make life easier for yourself. It's again maybe unorthodox, perhaps unconventional, not what I should be telling people, but it's what I do and these are my tips from my experience and I'm not an expert. So for example, I've got like all little like scarves in my room, like little, yeah, they're scarves, they're literally scarves that I've like hung up around my window to act as a curtain so that people can't see into my room, but to still let light in and look pretty generally. So sometimes with the cats and everything, they get pretty dirty. They can get a little smelly, they can be a bit gross. And I can't be arsed taking down all these pins and nails and bobbles and all sorts of other shit that I've got keeping them up. So I get a lint roller and I get all the dirt and the cat hair off and then I spray it with the odour remover stuff from Tesco to get rid of the smell. And then I just leave it. Might have just admitted something really gross to the whole of the internet, but I don't think it is gross because the odourless remover removes any smell. I've gotten all of like the bits off it. It's very thin fabric. I think it's clean enough now. It makes my life easier. You know, it saves me like the fucking, once you count in the wash time, probably 3 hours of taking everything down, putting it through the wash, getting it dry and hanging it back up. For the same thing that I've just done in 10 minutes or less. I used to have a proper filthy living room floor because I hate mopping. I despise mopping, like getting your bucket and putting your bleach and whatever else in and filling the bucket up and taking the bucket to where you're mopping and dipping it in the water and squeezing it off and wiping the floor and doing it again and wiping the floor. We'll move your bucket a bit, do it again. I hate mopping. So personally, other people might not find this easier. I get the floor wipes, you know, like the antibacterial disinfectant floor wipes, and like some sort of servant. It feels Victorian to me. I'm like, oh, there's a Lottie doing a Victorian task.
Do the wooden boy voice. Do the wooden boy voice.
Oh, there's a Lottie doing a Victorian task. I just get on my hands and knees and I wipe the fucking floor like that. And I can see why other people might be like, that's harder. But to me, that's easier. That's cutting down all the other shit that I have to do to mop while doing the same job. Probably better if anything, because it's antibacterial and I'm making sure to get every little bit. Like, I think it's probably cleaner than mopping. But yeah, you get my point. If there's any way to make something you don't like doing just a little bit easier on yourself, do it and fuck what anyone else says. So yeah, they're my tips. That's how I keep my house reasonably clean and in order for the most part. I try my best. If you have any tips, I'd love to hear them because I'm still not brilliant at it. I could definitely improve quite a lot. But I hope these tips are somewhat helpful to somebody. Like I say, this is what I do. This is how I've made it work for me. And it mostly does. Some days I just don't have the executive dysfunction or the energy or the spoons or the mental capacity to do it. It still happens. No one's perfect. No one's fucking, like, especially with Instagram and Pinterest and that, you have this impression that people's houses are 100% clean and perfect and tidy all the time. And no one's is. Especially not mine. Especially not mine. But I try and it's clean enough. So, yeah. Whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a few days.